You know how often you see a cheap projector on sale, the kind that promises a big screen movie night for a few bucks, only to end up with a washed-out picture and a fan that sounds like a jet engine? I'd been there, staring at a dim, fuzzy image in a dimly lit living room, wishing I'd spent a little more on something that actually works. The fear of that regret is what kept me digging into the ultra-short-throw market before I hit record, and the Epson BrightLink 725Wi kept popping up as the model that actually delivers on the promises that cheaper units can't keep. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the whole idea of an ultra-short-throw projector is that you can sit the device a foot or two from the wall and still get a 100-inch image. That's a game changer for classrooms, small conference rooms, and even home offices where you don't have the luxury of a dark, dedicated theater space. The BrightLink 725Wi leans on Epson's 3 LCD engine, which means you get a true 3-chip color separation without the rainbow effect you see on many DLP units. In real life, that translates to more consistent colors across the whole screen, even when you're projecting onto a light-colored wall or a whiteboard. I set this thing up in a medium-sized meeting room that has a lot of natural light coming in through windows. The 4000 lumens rating isn't just a number on a spec sheet, it actually cut through the daylight. When I ran a PowerPoint deck at 1080p, the text stayed crisp and the charts were readable without cranking the projector's brightness up to max and worrying about overheating. The WXGA resolution, 128/0800, is a step down from Full HD, but in a 1610 format it still gives you enough vertical real estate to see full-screen spreadsheets without scrolling. For anyone who spends most of their day in front of a screen and wants to share that view with a group, the extra vertical space can be a subtle productivity boost. One of the biggest practical strengths is the connectivity. The HDMI port handled both video and audio cleanly, so I could plug a laptop straight into the projector, and the room speakers, which are built into the unit, took care of the sound. No extra audio cable, no fiddling with separate sound systems. The USB port also lets you run presentations directly from a thumb drive, which is handy for quick, peek-free demos. I tried it with a MacBook, a Windows laptop, and even a Raspberry Pi running a digital signage loop. Each source was recognized instantly, and the projector's menu let me switch inputs without a pause. That kind of plug-and-play simplicity is what makes it feel like a smart buy versus a budget model that forces you into adapters or extra hardware. Now, it's not all smooth sailing. The 16:10 aspect ratio means you'll see black bars on the sides if you try to display a 16:9 video, which can be a little jarring if you're watching movies. The projector also leans heavily into its interactive capabilities. Epson markets the BrightLink line as an interactive whiteboard, and the unit does support touch interaction when paired with the right pen. However, the interactive features are an extra software layer you have to install and calibrate, and they're not necessary for a straight projection setup. If you're not planning to write on the screen, you can ignore that whole ecosystem, but it does add a layer of complexity you might not need. Another consideration is the size of the device. Because it's an ultra-short-throw model, the lens assembly sticks out more than a typical tabletop projector. It fits nicely on a small table or a dedicated stand, but you do need a clear line of sight to the wall. Anything in front of it, even a low shelf, can cause keystone distortion that the unit tries to correct automatically. In my testing, a bookshelf placed 3 feet in front of the projector introduced a slight edge blur on the left side, which the auto keystone feature compensated for, but the image was a tad softer there. So if your space is cluttered, you'll want to plan the projector's placement carefully. Who should actually buy this thing? If you're a teacher who wants to turn any wall into an interactive whiteboard without buying a separate board and projector, the BrightLink 725Wi checks a lot of boxes. The US direct projection means you can walk in with a flash drive of lesson plans and be ready in seconds. Small to medium business owners who run weekly team briefings also benefit from the quick setup. Just hook up a laptop, hit present, and the room lights can stay on. The brightness handles ambient light well enough that you don't need to black out a conference room, which saves on installation costs. Who might skip it? If you're a hardcore home theater enthusiast who wants native 4K resolution, deep blacks, and a perfect 16:9 cinematic aspect ratio, you'll feel the compromise. The WXGA panel is great for productivity, but it won't satisfy a movie night that demands